Let me start off with the regular stuff that I have to start off by telling you I'm coming to you from our studios, thanks to our official studio sponsor, FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is the official sports betting company of the No Mercy podcast. I'm very disgusted. I am having a very bad day. I'm coming to you right now, more than 2 hours before the New York Knicks play Game 5 at Madison Square Garden. Why am I coming to you? Because it's over, that's why. It's over. It's over. That damn Julius Randle, the mistake waiting to happen, 22% shoot from three-point range, jacking up shots. When things ain't going right, nothing goes right for him. All of a sudden, defense is a problem. All of a sudden, foul trouble is a problem. All of a sudden, continuity and ball movement and spreading the floor is gone. And now the New York Knicks on the brink of elimination. Hell, by the time some of y'all see this, it might be over. This season might be over. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll win Game 5. But it's over. How the hell you're the bigger and stronger and a more physical team and a lighter team that's not nearly as physical, far more finesse, is bullying you? That's what the Miami Heat have done. As far as I'm concerned, it's a sweep because the only game the New York Knicks have won thus far in this series is when Jimmy Butler didn't play, which was Game 2. So if they end up losing Game 5 at Madison Square Garden on Wednesday night, Jimmy Butler will have swept them because every game he played in, they won. Assuming that happens. And if they lose, all they're going to do is go back to South Beach. And who's the hell to say they were acting right at South Beach? For all I know, that's the reason they lost Games 3 and 4. Because Miami is a legit distraction. And I'll be the first to admit that. But I'm just disgusted because let me tell y'all something right now, and I want to state for the record, I understand the New York Knicks bum rushed and beat down the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round of the NBA playoffs Eastern Conference. I understand that Cleveland Cavaliers looked softer, they were inexperienced, and Donovan Mitchell didn't have his best series. But that doesn't negate the point that I was making all season long. Donovan Mitchell, if he were on the New York Knicks, I think he could have done some special things. Certainly would have been better than Julius Randle. Likely would have been better than R.J. Barrett. And the combination of him and Jalen Brunson could have done some things. And don't give me size and height and all of this other stuff. If Donovan Mitchell could be in the backcourt all season long with a Cleveland Cavaliers squad that finishes the top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, he could have been in the backcourt with Jalen Brunson. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So I'm pretty pissed off that this is what it comes down to, but that's life. And I get it. That ain't the only series I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers briefly as well, because I have to admit I am stunned with what I saw on Tuesday night, Game 5 in Boston at TD Bank Garden. The Philadelphia 76ers, they beat Boston's ass. Start to finish. Joel Embiid playing like an MVP, 33 points. 7 rebounds, 4 blocks. Tyrese Maxey, 30 points, a 10 of 21 shooting from the field, 6 of 12 from three-point range. Philadelphia's 4-0 this postseason when Maxey scores 25 points or more. Remember that. James Harden just 17 points. A 2023 postseason low of just 8 shots. Took 10 assists, 8 rebounds. James Harden has had 3 good games, 3 decent games, 2 spectacular games, 1 decent games, and 2 poor games in this series. Poor games 2 and 3, great 1, 4, and 5. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Philadelphia 76ers continue to play this way, they beating Boston. I ain't ruling Boston out. I'm not dismissing the chance that Boston could go into Philly Thursday night and beat Philly. Because we know what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown could do. Along with Marcus Smart and Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon and Al Horford and those boys. We know what they could do. But Missoula's coaching them now, not Ime Udoka. So we don't know. We'll see. But the way Philadelphia looked, ladies and gentlemen, if the Philadelphia 76ers look throughout these playoffs, the remainder of these playoffs, the way that they looked in Game 5 in Boston on Tuesday night, the 76ers could win it all. And I'm not saying they will, but they could. We can't rule it out. Then again, we can't rule out Miami. Because I never thought in my wildest dreams without Tyler Hero, without a Victor Oladipo, with Jimmy Butler leading the way, with them having a porous offense throughout the regular season, that they would come into the postseason and be a top-rated offense in three-point field goals itself, offensive efficiency. I never saw that coming. So who the hell knows right now? It's up for grabs. This is what makes the NBA special. This is what makes the NBA special. Once upon a time, you had that big giant that everybody was shooting for. They wanted parity, they got it. We came into this postseason, 10 different damn teams could win the chip. That's what we said. Sure enough, it's true. Denver could win it. LA could win it. Golden State could come back from a 3-1 deficit. They could win it. Phoenix could win it. They still got Booker and Durant. And Monty Williams is finally using his bench. If that damn DeAndre Ayton could show up and act like he has a pulse, and that's a different subject altogether. The man lied. DeAndre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns. The man done booked this flight to head back home to the Bahamas and just didn't tell anybody. Because, my God, he looks sorry. I mean, damn. He sucks right now. Not as a player. I'm just talking about this series. He is getting his ass whipped. I mean, the Joker is putting it on him. Busting his living you know what. And beating him down the floor. You ever see Joker walk? Nikola Jokic? Wobbling up and down, wobbling in the arena when he just showing up the arena and just lollygagging up and down the court, it looks like. And sure enough, he's beating DeAndre Ayton down the floor. He's outrunning DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton looks as slow as a snail, looks disinterested. He's pouting a whole bit. I mean, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker probably want to pull a Draymond Green on them with Jordan Poole. You know what I'm saying when I say that. They probably want to do something like that. I mean, it's just embarrassing. Because if he gave you anything, they could beat Denver. But he's not. It's a damn shame. It really, really is. But any of those Final Four teams in the West could win the championship. And in the East, we all know Boston, Philly, Miami could do some things. Now, to me, Knicks don't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning the championship. Miami has a lesser chance than most of winning it, in my opinion, without Hero and without Oladipo, even though Vincent and Strus and all of these brothers are shooting the ball pretty well. Even Duncan Robinson, let me not leave him out. Okay? Along with Caleb Martin, can't leave him out. But the point is, you don't look at Miami and say, win it all. You certainly feel that way about Boston and Philly, along with all four of the teams in the Western Conference. So this is where we are right now. It's very compelling. It's very interesting. It's just that I'm not in a good mood about it because I'm a Knicks fan first. And the fact that the New York Knicks are ended up going home, in all likelihood, by the start of this weekend, if not Wednesday night, pisses me off. It really, really does. I'm disgusted. I'm upset. I'm depressed. I don't know what to do. I really, really don't. Because I had orange and blue skies, baby. Orange and blue skies on my mind. That's what I had. I got caught up again because I'm a native New Yorker, born in 67, a New York Knicks fan all my life, knowing they haven't won a championship since 1973. Understanding that in 1999-2000, they didn't have a chance then because they were going against Tim Duncan and David Robinson and San Antonio. And we all know that Sprewell and Larry Johnson wasn't going to beat Tim Duncan and David Robinson. You ain't got hurt. We understood all of that. And so here we are, 23 years later, only 2 playoff series victories in 23 years. I had an afro, and I didn't have a speck of gray hair, okay? Everything in life was a little bit different, damn it. It was 23 years ago. I was in my early 30s, and it was orange and blue skies that I was fantasizing about. After years of Dave Checketts and Ernie Grunfeld lying to me so well, convincing me that there's somehow, some way they'd find a way to beat Michael Jordan, but that didn't pan out. And as disappointing as it was, it made sense, because damn it, it's Michael Jordan. But to see them now, I mean, everybody beats them when it counts, other than Cleveland. I mean, I just don't know what to say. I really don't. But I'm going to take this medicine because I'm a man. And I got to be real with it. And I got to understand that this is what comes with the territory. It's just a damn shame. It really is depressing. It hurts my heart. But I just got to deal with it, right? I got it. I got it, y'all. Want to take a moment to give props to Devin Booker. Didn't have the greatest game Friday, game 5, but I don't give a damn. Prior to that, he had been nothing short of spectacular. The light-skinned Mamba. That's what I called him, and I stand by it. Kevin Durant get it going. Ain't really their fault. They can't get DeAndre Ayton going. Chris Paul, they're not better without him, but they looked better in this series without him because with Cameron Payne at the point guard, you're able to quicken the pace. Not only that, with Chris Paul gone, you're forced to play your bench even more. So Landry Shamet gets more playing time. Terrence Ross gets more playing time. TJ Warren gets more playing time. And obviously Payne. And that gives Phoenix a fighting chance if their big man showed up instead of acting like he was a little man. But that's what they got. And as a result, it is what it is. Before I get on out of here, because I got to get to an interview, this brother that I'm about to talk to is going to explain to you a couple of things. He might even talk about the Lakers and Golden State. He might explain to you and maybe convince you that Golden State is not finished, that they could overcome a 3-1 deficit. I'm here to tell you, I think they can. I don't know what's going to happen Wednesday night, Game 5. By the time you're watching this, okay, the game may be going on or the outcome might be decided. I'm doing this before that game. I think Golden State is winning Game 5. I think they're going to go back to LA Friday and win Game 6, and I think they are going to force a Game 7. My issue is I don't know if they'll have it in them to beat LeBron James 3 times, but I will tell you this. Would it not be special if Steph Curry avenged a 3-1 lead that he ultimately lost in the 2016 NBA Finals to LeBron James by overcoming a 3-1 deficit himself this time and knocking off LeBron James in his 20th season in the National Basketball Association? It would seem to be poetic justice. And if anybody can pull it off, it's Steph. But he needs Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, would it be nice for you to show up back to back in? What the hell are you, Anthony Davis now? You don't show up, you only show up every other game, which Anthony Davis was doing until he showed up in games 3 and 4 of this series. Is that what you're doing, Klay? Come on, get it together. Jordan Poole is another matter. It is a basketball travesty what Jordan Poole has done. He went from averaging 20 points in the postseason last year to averaging 10 this year, 9.9 to be exact. Field goal percentage shooting down, 3-point percentage shooters down. He looks awful. More importantly, he looks petulant. This ain't about Jordan Poole's game. Bad times happen from time to time. The issue with Jordan Poole is that he seems to have become a problem after he got his money. See, his new contract, 4 years, $128 million, $123 million guaranteed. It don't kick in until next season. It doesn't kick in until this summer, off season. So he got his money coming, and he knows it. Averaging about $28 million. And how he acting. Turning his nose up at the media, acting like he's being victimized, acting like, you know what, people are bothering him and people are doing him wrong. No, you playing like trash. And you ain't helping Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. You did it maybe for one game this postseason. I said this before and I'll say it again. I'm not advocating violence. I'm not saying that what Draymond did by knocking him out before the season began when they got into a tussle in practice was the right thing for Draymond to do. It was wrong. It was inexcusable. Nobody knows that better than Draymond. But the way we see Jordan Poole acting, being about himself instead of the team, causing the kind of distractions that I've heard he's caused, it does make sense why Draymond lashed out. Not saying he should have done it the way that he did, but it makes sense. It really does. Because Jordan Poole's behavior has changed since he got his bag. Who would be more appalled by that than a 4-time champion who's going to 6 NBA finals that are in the muck and grind of it all the whole way, and they're watching somebody act like they've done it too when they didn't? He was on the squad when they won the title last year, not when they won the first 3. Just makes sense. Somebody needs to point that out. Hey, you don't believe me, believe my next guest. He's a former All-American at the University of North Carolina. He's a former 2-time champion with the Houston Rockets. He's one of the elite basketball analysts this country has ever seen. And you see him at least a couple of times a week throughout the regular season, and more than that during the postseason on the Emmy Award-winning Inside the NBA on TNT. He's my brother. my friend, the one and only, Kenny Smith. Kenny the Jet Smith. He's got a new book out, too. We're going to talk to him about that and about these playoffs in just a minute. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. It's No Mercy with Stephen A. More with Kenny Smith in a minute. In a lifetime of covering sports, I've been introduced to cultures from all over the world. The biggest stars right now, from Lionel Messi to the Greek Freak, come from all corners of the earth, all sections of the globe. And I'll tell you, the best way to really appreciate an international culture is through the magic of language. That's where Rosetta Stone comes into play. They've been the experts in language learning for 30 years. And you can get their award-winning app to learn 25 different languages, anytime, anywhere. Spanish, Italian, Chinese, whatever you choose. You'll make real progress for real-life conversation in as little as 10 minutes at a time. And it's intuitive. No memorizing flashcards and that stuff that didn't work in school. So prepare for travel abroad or look to keep that mind sharp. Be ready to learn. For a limited time, our listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime unlimited subscription, which gives you access to all 25 of their languages forever. For 40% off, visit rosettastone.com/mercy today. Rosetta Stone, how language is learned. I like working with brands that let you celebrate you. All your passions, all your interests, all your quirks. And that's exactly what MeUndies does. One look on their website, you're going to find briefs in dozens of colors and then dozens more designs. Donuts, foxes, Spider-Man, whatever you want on those briefs, they've got them, plus socks, dog hoodies, and more apparel. I'm not going to tell you what designs I got in my drawer because y'all already know enough about me, and some things I just like to keep to myself. I'm sure you understand that. But I'll tell you this, most comfortable underwear I've ever worn, easily. And that's why I'm excited that they've got a new sustainably sourced swimwear collection for the summer, made for recycled fabrics and water bottles, featuring those famous MeUndies designs. Plus, they're ultra chlorine resistant and give you an extra sun protection. To get 25% off your first order plus free standard shipping, visit MeUndies.com/mercy. Remember, if you're not satisfied, your purchase is on MeUndies. That's 25% off your first order at MeUndies.com/mercy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. My guest, I got to be official here for a second. He's a fellow New Yorker, a former McDonald's All-American. He won back-to-back NBA championships with the Houston Rockets, a teammate of Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. He's now famous in another arena as a sports analyst on an Emmy Award-winning show Inside the NBA on TNT. He's got a new memoir out that we're about to talk about. He's also my brother. Queens is in the building. I think that his big brother, Vincent, is one of the great, great coaches. The only blemish on his illustrious career as a coach, as a trader, is the fact that he coached me, because that didn't work out too great. I'm talking about the one and only Kenny, the Jet Smith. What's going on, big time? How are you, man? What's going on, man?
Queens get the money. What's going on, man?
Queens get the money. No doubt about it. Listen, man, we'll get into your blasphemy about your pick with the New York Knicks and Miami Heat in just a second, but we got to get the obvious stuff out of the way. You've written a new book. The title of the new book, Talk of Champions, Stories of the People Who Made Me. Talk to us about this book.
You know what? For a long time, people have been saying that you're going to write a book. Can you write a book? I always thought I could write a good article.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I was like, actually, after the George Floyd incident happened, someone's literary agent called me and said, "You have a book." It's like, why? I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Why'd you walk off?" And I was like, "Well, it was because of the people and the people who made me." So all of the things that I did, instead of writing each chapter like 1, 2, 3, they're about all the great things I learned from these great people. If I knew this at 25,
right,
man, my life would be so different. And then, Stephen, which was crazy, I always thought like the people around me, those were people that everyone kind of had access to. Mm-hmm. Dean Smith, Bill Russell,
right,
Shaq, Charles, even today. Good friends of mine, David Kohler, who runs a plumbing company, the Kohler family. Guy Osiri, who manages Madonna's thing. I just thought that was normal.
Right.
And then I looked, I'm like, everybody I know has a book written about them. And so, it's just I wanted it, Stephen, like when you read it to go, I feel better about myself. Because now I know why I'm a champion when that works. I get it because Jordan does this. Barkley does it. Shaq. And it's so poignant and they all point to the same way And a lot of people just don't know how to self-help themselves. And now they get an opportunity to hear it, the stories of the greatest people who I just thought were regular people until about maybe 10 years. I said, man, I got a nice phone book.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up because you're talking about this book being inspirational and motivational and basically being a self-help book. But you prefaced your comments by saying you were told you had a book and you were convinced you had a book in you after you walked off the set. And for those who don't know, let me remind them, George Floyd obviously is murdered by a police officer in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Obviously, social justice issues were really percolating at that particular moment in time, more than it had at any time in recent memory. Protests were going on all over the country or whatever. And you were on the set of TNT and you said that you felt it was appropriate for you. You thought it was not appropriate for you to be there that day. So you got up and walked off the set. That is what transpired. As you reflect on that moment, talk to us about how that moment for you really, really crystallizes and percolates for this particular book, this memoir that you're writing.
Well, it was kind of an interesting day because, you know, like you said, it was the most, poignant moment and, for us in our lifetime, a younger generation of social justice. And so, we had a show that night and I came downstairs from the hotel. The doorman was like, hey, Kenny, how you doing? You need your card? Yeah, got my card. Got to the door, got to the gate and the security gate at TNT. Hey, Kenny, we'll let you in. So everything felt normal. And then when Ernie started the show, and I had no idea that I was going to do that, Stephen, at the time. Ernie starts the show and he's like, live from inside the NBA. And everything felt normal. And I'm like, today's not normal. I can't make it normal. I just can't be on TV and be a talking head. So I got to join the march. I got to join it instead of just hearing about it and talking about it. Join it. And I think that would be more significant. And to me, it was. And then it started to reflect like, well, the story about Dean Smith and him talking about apartheid when I was in college, and the story about, Michael Jordan talking about how great he's going to be. That's why I walked off. It wasn't just that moment. It was like all of those moments of these people that I met and it really influenced my life. And then I go into other things about being a champion, obviously, as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember calling you at that particular moment in time and you had to educate me because, we boys, so we talk all the time. Sir. And I remember saying, Kenny, you sure that was the right thing to do? Because your voice is so important, it's needed. Are you sure you didn't need to be on that set? And then you explained to me and it made perfect sense. So I completely agree with you. How did Charles and Shaq and Ernie feel about you walking off the set that night?
Well, it's interesting because that's in the book as well, because I think that, I thought at first Charles and Shaq, even Charles has said it publicly that he felt blindsided a little bit because, he should have known. But I think when you're trying to do something that's correct and something that's socially correct and morally correct, you don't seek approval from anybody. You just go do it. You know what I'm saying? You just do it. And I wasn't trying to seek approval, honestly, from them as well. We've talked about it openly. And the one thing about, Shaq and Charles, especially Charles, because we've been together a little longer than Shaq, is like we talk and we have a dialogue that's so honest that it's like he is a brother of mine. Because and I told him, I said, Chuck, the reason I walked off is because of you. He's like, what? I said, yeah. Before you came on the show, I never had a social or a moral voice. I only had a basketball voice. Now you gave me a voice. And because I used it, you can't be upset with it.
And what did he say?
And then he agreed. He still agreed to disagree. He said, you still should have told me. And I'm like,
so it was just about not telling him, He's so funny. It's interesting because, you talk about you being a basketball voice, but I can tell you I've known you for more than half of my life. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, I've never viewed you as just a basketball guy, because even when you're breaking down basketball, you're bringing such in-depth knowledge and such a perspective that transcends the sport, that I've always viewed you as somebody far deeper than just breaking down basketball from an analytical perspective. Are you trying to say that you really, really didn't get to that point where you were convinced that was you in your mind until recently?
Yes, in this regard, I always had to infuse it into what I was saying. Now I'm being asked about it. Difference. Where before Charles came, I had to infuse my moral, my social, my thought process into the game. But now people will just ask me, what do you think about George Floyd? What do you think about this particular thing in social and economical or whatever?
Yeah.
Where before that, I had to infuse it. And so I think now I thank Charles every day for that, even though I disagree with that dude on a lot of stuff.
Right.
But I do agree on him with some stuff. But I think the voice that he allowed our show to have add kerosene to a fire that was already there. Yep. But he just put kerosene on it. And now it's like, yo, it's raging every time we come on.
You know, it's interesting because I look at you guys inside the NBA on TNT. First of all, Ernie Johnson is an institution, one of the most wonderful people that you'll ever meet, and obviously a Hall of Famer in this business. He is just that dude. Shaq speaks for itself. Chuck speaks for itself. And obviously you do. So many times people have looked at them and they say, it's Charles Barkley. It's Shaquille O'Neal. But now, more than ever before, it seems like your voice has been raised and you've elevated to a point where everybody's got their thing. Chuck's got his thing. Shaq's got his thing. You've got your thing. Do you sense that equilibrium, for lack of a better word, has really, really come into focus when you look at your show? And I ask that with all humility because we got an NBA show on ESPN. We're doing quite well. Yes, I got something to do with that. Damn it, I'm gonna pat myself on the shoulder for that. But in the same breath, I tell everybody, all of those dudes over there at TNT are my boys, and they've set the standard for years. We pay nothing but homage to them. How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about yourself in the role that you're playing now more than ever?
Well, I always, I know you're a boxing fan too, so I'll equate it to boxing.
Yep.
Charles and Shaq, they're the George Foremans and Mike Tysons. They're knockout artists. You know what I mean? And so they're going to say one thing that you're going to remember, and it's going to be headline news for days. I'm Floyd Mayweather. I'm all day. I'm jabbing you all day with information and knowledge that sometimes if you're not there for the knockout, you might miss. But if you stay for the fight, you're going to go like, yo, this dude put us in throughout the whole night. He put us through information. I'm Floyd Mayweather. I'm on the money team. And then Ernie is probably Angelo Dundee. He's like, he's taping us up and putting the things on when we start believing. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, champ, you're in the corner. Let me patch you up. So, but that's how it rolls. And I know that I'm an informational guy, that I'm gonna sometime, I got a knockout punch every now and then. But my thing is like, I'm just jabbing you all night and I'm giving you that information all night.
I got to tell you, man, I mean, listen, first of all, it ain't just an information. I love it when you go to the screen, when you're doing it, like it's like the big ass telestrator for crying out loud, especially when you go in and the technology got you looking like you on the court with the players. It's real hype, the whole bit. And the greatest compliment that I could actually give to the entire show, they could come to me. This is hypothetical, of course. Kenny, they could literally come to me and say to me, they want me on TNT. And I wouldn't want to be on there unless the four of y'all were on there. Like nobody will want to replace y'all. It's too perfect. It's like it's a perfect marriage. So let's get back to this book, because when we're talking about this book, what role did TNT, meaning your role on that show, play in your mind in you writing this book? You play for the great Jack Curran and Archbishop Malloy before Kenny Anderson, the great Kenny Anderson, got there, by the way. You went down to North Carolina with Dean Smith, okay? All right. While you were teammates with Jordan, for crying out loud. And then obviously you go into the NBA as a first round top 7 pick. When you look at your career at TNT, however, what role did that play in you wanting to write this book?
It was another 3 chapters, because it exposed me to be brothers with Charles and Shaq and Ernie. So it exposed me, where before I was with, like you just named, think of the people just named that I was associated with on a daily basis, Stephen. Not like, oh, you get a call. Hey, no, Dean Smith every day in his office. Jack Curran every day in his office. Bill Russell every day in his office, who, and it's in the book, the story he told me one time, Stephen, we're talking, and he's looking at these papers because he was the general manager. First of all, he drafted me. Now he's the general manager. And his rule was I had to sit next to him on every flight and every bus ride. So I sat next to him on every flight and every bus. And so he's looking at these players from overseas. And I'm looking at him and I'm going, Coach, you telling me there's no guy in Alabama? You going all the way to Europe? And he look at these guys. There's a guy in Alabama and he stopped me. And he goes, Kenny, as an African American, you can never not want inclusion. And so now he takes a basketball moment to give me a moment that I take in my whole life now. Like, I changed my whole direction, the way I talk, the way I think, because of that one sentence about a joke I was making about Europeans. Then you go to TNT and you add those comments like that Shaq makes that, I'm like, Shaq, you don't get tired of seeing yourself on TV, bro? Like, all these commercials, he's like, Kenny, we're in a window that you only 8 years. So you have to maximize as a business. So he's teaching me about business, where I'm thinking, I'm going to talk dunks with this dude. And he's telling me how to be a better businessman for an hour. Magic Johnson, the same thing when he was here. So TNT allowed me to just have great relationship with the world's greatest people.
You've always been one of the best brothers I've ever known in my life, personally. Who's had the biggest influence as it pertains to the man that you are and the man that you've become?
My mom and dad, because they taught me that, I would have never noticed these people that I've met, but they taught me how to listen. So they're like, Kenny, you got to listen. You got to listen. So when you listen, you start to hear things that you probably didn't know was coming. And then it allows you to move in a different direction. And that's what I think the great thing about our show, Stephen, is like, I've been on other shows and they got, Kenny, you got 15 seconds. This guy got 15, this guy. I'm like, but what if he says something in the middle of his 15 seconds that I hate?
Right.
I can't change my thing. They're like, nope, you gotta go with your point. So now my mom and dad taught me how to listen. And then that allowed me to be. And so I would say because of them, they've made me the person I am. And hopefully teaching my children to be that same person, be listeners before speakers.
I'll give you another great compliment. You encourage other people to want to listen. Obviously, I've been as raw as they come. You've known me for all of these years. You know how I roll. And when I was getting on Kyrie Irving, you called me about that and had a call and talk with me about that. Well, guess who rolled up on me at the Staples Center a couple of weeks ago? I'm sorry, the Crypto.com Arena couple of weeks ago. It was Kyrie.
Wow.
We shook hands and we spoke for a minute. And I'm gonna talk to Pops in a few weeks as well. Well, because of you. Well, because of you.
I will say this, Stephen, because Kyrie and and his dad, always New Yorkers. I know them, but we're not. I know a lot of people around Kyrie, but me and Kyrie don't talk. But when I called you, I just was like, bro, like we're all cut from the same cloth. So actually, when we're discussing him, we're discussing us. He has the same mentors that I had, and that and D had his dad, and we all in the same circle. So I was just like, let's fix it. I never talked to them about it. I never talked to anybody. I just talked to you, and this is the first time publicly that we even talking about it, because I thought it was important that if we're all cut from the same cloth, there's something that. And I know that we all have this stubbornness about us too. You know that we're because you learn from Vince. Vince learned from him. So we got this stubbornness about us that is injected that we're not going to accept certain things from certain people. And so, but we are each other. I am Kyrie Irving in a sense. You are him. I am Stephen A. So I could never talk bad about Stephen A. because like that guy, the people who influence him influence me. So it makes no sense. Ross Strickland, Mark Jackson, we all the same, man. Like, so it's important. I'm glad y'all did that because now we feel whole because you did that. I feel better by hearing you say that. It makes me feel better. So when I call Rod right after this and be like, Rod, what's going on up in college? I don't feel like I'm faking anything.
And I'm going to fix it too. And the fact of the matter is, those are the exact words that you used when you called me. You said we all cut from the same cloth. And you know how much I love Rod.
Right, exactly.
You know how much I love my man, Gary D. Howard,
Right.
Reggie Howard, you, the
Thank
Vince, the whole
Thank
crew.
you.
So I'm like,
Thank
said,
you.
I got it. I
Thank
looked
you.
at Kai. I said, I got it. I got
Thank
it.
you.
I'll deal with it. No question about it.
But still do your job. And that's
Of
what I
course.
said. If he's in the news and he needs to be talked about as a basketball player or something else, you got to do your job. But
got to do your job.
But we can't get to the point where we feel emotional about it, and that's what I'm saying.
That's fair. No question about it. And as I look at this and I read this book, I'm thinking about all the lessons that you've tried to espouse upon people. When you think about the effect that a book like this could potentially have on the basketball community, what is your desired effect? This book right here that you just wrote, your memoir, what effect do you want it to have on your brethren, meaning the basketball community?
Yeah, I think the first thing, from an ownership standpoint, team owners, like understanding the dynamics of people. And so, when you understand the dynamics of people, then you're gonna lead them better. I coach at AAU, as you know, and from you, my brother, 5th grade, 6th grade, all the way up to high schoolers. And there was a 7th grade parent that was barraging me one day, like, my son's not playing, Kenny, and and I stopped her and I said, listen, I'm never gonna have a basketball conversation because I just gonna feel I'm always gonna know more than you in the basketball. However, do you know that John leads the team in stretching? He leads the team in this. When he called the timeout, he's the one who I give him more power as a person that he would ever get as a basketball player. And that's what the head of IBM, he's doing things that the head of IBM, the head of ESPN, TNT, that's the quality they're looking for. So do you want your son to be a decent little college player, or do you want him to be the head of TNT? You tell me. So that's what I want to instill in the basketball community, is that, like, there are certain things that are qualities that are important for the 12th man on the team when you're getting to have, as well as your superstar he has to have. Those are championship talks. There are things that the 12th man on the team, when I was at North Carolina, he made me a first team college basketball player. If I'd never heard him say that, the guy named James Day or whatever, or going down the list, I would have never been that. So you gotta implement everyone into your system to being a champion. It's the secretaries. It's like everyone. When I used to call the Carolina basketball office, Stephen, the secretary answers the phone. Hey, Kenny, what do you need today? Are you good? Are you okay? That is what champions are made of. That's what this book is about.
Got you. I read that you said you once imagined what it would have been like if you played in Chicago in the NBA with Michael Jordan. Is that true? What's that about?
Yeah, I wrote that in a book. I was jealous of Scottie Pippen my whole basketball career because I was a 6th pick. He was a 5th pick. And at that time, I don't know if it wasn't failing a physical, but they weren't sure because the doctors were saying, oh, he'd only have a 2-year career based on his knee, his ankle, whatever it was. But then you go to another team, and this is before there was one different doctor that examined the same player. I'm the reason that the rule is like that, because I was able to do multiple things and they were getting all these multiple reports. So I was jealous that Scottie Pippen got to play with Michael Jordan because I knew that I needed a guy like that to go, Kenny, you got to push yourself harder. Kenny, like, some people have that innately in them. I'm the guy, I know who I was. I'm the guy that if you say, we're going to do 100 laps, I'm doing 100. And I'm not complaining about one. And I needed that push.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. You watched The Last Dance like everybody else did because it came on during COVID and it saved all of us because sports wasn't going on at that time. We got to thank Michael Jordan every day, all day for that one. Was that an accurate depiction of Michael Jordan in your estimation, or was there a lot of stuff left out that really shows you, that really would tell you how dogged he was about committing yourself to winning?
Well, the Michael I know, again, I had different runs of times, periods, obviously never played with him, but all in the summer times. That was a very accurate depiction plus some. But, if you don't want to be part of a championship mix, a lot of people say, I want to be a champion. I want to have the best business. But the sacrifices and the things that you have to do to get it sometimes are out of reach for you because it's really not an internal element inside you. And then when you realize you got to do it, they're like, I don't want to do that to be a champion. I don't want to do that to be the best.
Right.
I understood when I saw Michael, when I saw Dean Smith, when I see Bill Russell, I understood that there's a quality that I might have that I'm missing. And that's also a tough part to accept for certain people. Right. But to be a champion, you have to also know what you're lacking, not what you have. And so I'm like, if I have Michael Jordan next to me, I'm in that 6 a.m. morning club with him. I'm lifting weights. Hey, after the game, we talking stuff to everybody. Like I'm part. Like I need that. I needed that extra element. So yes, accurate depiction. Michael is the competitor of all competitors, but he's the first guy who can back it up.
And that's why I have him number one all time, and I have somebody like LeBron James as number two. What's your list? My Mount Rushmore is Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, Russell. That's where I'm at with it. What about you, Kenny Smith?
Well, I'm a prerequisite with this comment, though. My list is going to be based on the fact that I'm old enough to have lived through everybody's moments.
Okay.
So I understand when he shot the shot against Craig Elo, I understand what Cleveland was at the time. My son who's watching the shot, he goes, well, it's a shot. I'm like, no, Cleveland was the team that was about to be the next team.
Mark Price, Larry Nance, Brad Daugherty, hell yes.
And the shot that he took made them dismantle the team. Think about that. So the Knicks were going to be the next thing, but he made them go, Patrick doesn't have enough. And, I understand what the moments, but I understand what that means for LeBron too.
Right.
I understand what Detroit was. I understand. So the greatest player alive in my generation, I can't really go to Wilt Chamberlain because I don't know what those moments meant, or Kareem as much. But Michael Jordan is the best player in our generation because I understand what the moments meant when he was doing it. And LeBron is 1A because the moments that he's doing the greatness, the same greatness for me personally, are just a step below.
Some people keep saying we're doing a disservice by not including Kobe Bryant in that list. Where do you fall in that discussion?
Well, I think the late, great Kobe Bryant, if you say who's the best two guard in the NBA, even when Kobe was around, they would say it was Kobe, who was the second best. They would never say that he would, how about this? We always compare everyone to Michael. We used to say, can Kobe be Michael?
Right.
We never said the opposite.
Exactly.
So he is the measuring stick. Michael is the measuring stick, even for LeBron. LeBron is the measuring stick. Michael's the measuring stick even for LeBron. So when you become the measuring stick, I think that's where it's going to be a point. Now, if LeBron this dude is unbelievable. The longevity. There's no one done it, Stephen, as long as him.
Nobody, but he still ain't getting the edge over MJ to me because you got 6 NBA Finals losses. Okay. You were in the finals against Dallas. You didn't have a great performance. I don't hold San Antonio against them first go round. I don't hold that against them. I don't even hold the second San Antonio loss against them because D Wade wasn't 100%. Okay. Can't hold the Golden State losses against him because we know he was compromised with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving being out. But I can't hold the Dallas series against him when Dirk Nowitzki and them took him out in 2011. I can't hold that against him. Jordan didn't have those moments. He just didn't.
I don't even hold those against him. I just say that Michael's moments in those moments were just a little more intense watching it.
Okay.
As a generality. But we're splitting hairs.
Right.
Like we're talking about the greatest or maybe the greatest.
Right.
We're not talking about LeBron James' career compared to Kenny Smith's career.
That's right.
You know what
exactly.
I mean?
That's why I try to tell him. I try to tell him all the time. This is not an insult. That's why when you see me on First Take and I've got the ticker on it, great father, great husband, great movie, great actor, great director, great businessman. I'm like, damn, how many compliments do y'all want me to give you? I got you in the history of the game. I got one player above you in the history of basketball, and they consider it hating. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah. But Kenny, having said all of that, I'm not going to lie to you. I know he doesn't compete. He's not a part of this conversation. but I got the light-skinned Mamba. That's what I call him. Devin Booker. This brother is something. And there's a separate conversation because we understand Devin Booker ain't there yet. But what I'm seeing from this brother in these playoffs is something to behold.
Yes.
And to me, the future in Phoenix with him and KD as the cornerstones for that franchise, is beautiful. What are your thoughts about what you're seeing?
Yeah, he's a three-way scorer because, now we see that he can push the ball from free throw line to free throw line, where when he's playing with Chris at times, he doesn't have to do that. Right. But when he's playing the ball from free throw line to free throw line and has the ball as the initiator, we're like, oh my gosh, we didn't know he had that. We didn't know he had that inside of him. So, the great thing about Chris Paul, when he comes back, he's a Hall of Famer, a student, a savant of basketball.
Yes, he is.
He's gonna be able to figure out how to do that while he's there. But from free throw line to we know he could catch and shoot. We know he could 2-dribble you. We may even 3-dribble you. But I didn't know he could go from free throw line to free throw line and create havoc until this year.
But look at his game. I call him the light-skinned Mamba because I think his game imitates Kobe's to some degree. Kobe had to play point at one point in time where guys got injured and he had to show you what he could do. We knew that he could score. We knew he could go from free throw line to free throw line and do what he's doing. The pump fakes, the spins, the open court excellence, the three-point pull-ups, the whole bit. I'm seeing that from Devin Booker right now, and it's spectacular to watch.
The only thing that separates Booker from a Kobe or even like when Paul George was in his heyday is the size.
Yes.
Because he's not going to always have the size advantage against the guy guarding him. With Kobe, 99% of the two guards in the league are not going to be 6'7". And then if you put a small forward on him, he's too slow. So with Devin, you maybe could put some physicality that he doesn't I'm just more physical than you tonight when my shot is off.
Right.
That's the difference between him and Kobe. Kobe is like, when his shot is off, he's like, oh, I'm going into the post, and I'm just too big and too strong for you.
How shocked have you been by what you've seen from the Lakers?
Not shocked. This is who they are, like great or inconsistent. This is who they've been, and it's really two letters, A-D.
Yes.
It's just two letters.
Up and
because,
down.
Hey, Steven, it's kind of weird, like, I was saying this to Chuck last night. I was like, it's like going to an Usher concert, right, in Vegas, and he's hitting every note, He's hitting every note. And then the next night you go and he's falling on his skates and he's not. I'm like, wait a minute. This was Monday. This is Wednesday. Like, it's the same show. Like, why aren't you hitting the same notes? Right. But because he goes so to the stratosphere of greatness, you think that he would never be average. And I think that's the problem, that not even problem, that's the thing that's baffling, that you go, man, how does he get average though? Like, when he's so in the stratosphere of greatness.
That's right. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I got to tell you this too. I brought this up, and I'm not apologizing for it. I said, if Steph Curry finds a way to win this series, and Steph Curry finds a way to win a 5th championship, we might have to start talking about him on the Mount Rushmore. We're talking about the greatest shooter that's ever lived. We're talking about you having to put your head on a swivel because his movement without the basketball is sublime. We're talking about a brother free throw shooting, perimeter shooting. Again, the greatest shooter the game has ever seen. I don't think anybody would debate that. If he wins, it would give him one more title than LeBron. He tied with Kobe and Magic, okay? 5 championships in 7 trips. I got to pay attention to that and look at the impact that he has on the game and say to myself, excuse me, it's not at least worth a discussion that when we talk about the Mount Rushmore of basketball, he might warrant consideration sometime in the future?
I'd have to agree. Because what he's doing is he's propelling other players around him to be at levels that they possibly might not have been if they weren't with him. Jordan Poole, Draymond even, maybe Clay. I don't know if Clay, but Looney. Like, he's propelling guys into areas that, stratospheres that they probably wouldn't have done. Gary Payton, the second, like those kind of stratospheres that he probably wouldn't have done if he wasn't there.
Transitioning to the East, I still have Boston as the best team out there. What about you?
I think if you look at Boston, those two guys, arguably in the last 6 years, have had the best runs between Brown and Tatum in the last 6 years. They've been to conference finals multiple times. They've been to NBA finals. No one else could say that they've had a better 6-year run than those two guys. So, yes, I would agree. And I'm not betting against them based on that.
I was hesitant to bring this up to you, but you know I was going to. The blasphemy that's come out of your mouth. The Queen, I mean, we're supposed to be brothers, man. It's supposed to be New York Queens in the building, man. I mean, come on, man. I mean, you got the Knicks, and listen, it looks good. It looks like a good prediction. It's totally emotional on my part. I'm aware of this. I know this. But damn it, we got to give them the mojo any chance we can get. We have suffered long enough, Kenny Smith. The New York Knicks got one playoff. The Knicks got one playoff series victory, now 2 in 23 years. 23 years. And while this momentum was riding, you got to bring us all down to earth by talking about Jimmy Buckets and Miami and how they're going to take the Knicks out.
Well, I would say this: if I went on emotion, I would always pick North Carolina, Houston Rockets, and the New York Knicks.
Right.
So I had to. When the first round, I really thought they were going to win. 100%.
So did I.
So the second round, I'm looking at what Miami is doing, and I'm like, I don't know if they can get by that, and it hurt my heart because you saw me hesitate.
Right.
Because my emotion was going to say, Knicks, go New York, go New York.
And I text you immediately. I didn't even let you get off the air during the show.
During the show. But my mind said the pieces around Jimmy Butler are better than the pieces right now around both Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. I just felt that way.
I'm down on Julius Randle, man, because do you know I looked up the stats over the last 3 postseasons? He has the worst shooting percentage of anybody who's attempted more than 100 field goal attempts. He has the worst shooting percentage of anybody at 32%.
He's a tough shot taker. I think when he takes simple shots, he's great. Mm-hmm. But when he takes tough shots, I think he's just good. You know, or average. But when he concentrates on his shot selection, I think he's probably, top 10 power forward, top 5 easily at times power forward. But when he wants to be a tough shot maker, I don't think he's as good, without question.
So I totally agree with you, but I'm very proud of Jalen Brunson. I'm very proud of the job that he's done. As good as I expected him to be, I didn't expect him to be this damn good. It says a lot about I'm very, very proud of him. But I got to get back to you in the book before I let you get on out of here. Talk of Champions, Stories of People Who Made Me, the memoir written by the one and only Kenny the Jet Smith, star of TNT's Inside the NBA. Is it true that you actually think that you and Olajuwon and the crew would have beaten the Chicago Bulls in the finals if Jordan was there and had it retired? Are you telling me that team would have beat Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls?
First of all, yes, we would have beat the Chicago Bulls, I feel. But I'm glad we didn't play them because it would have hurt Michael's legacy in this debate of LeBron.
I don't think it would have because I think he would have beat y'all, Kenny. I don't think y'all would have beat Chicago.
Can I ask you, so you really believe they would have won 8 championships?
I really believe they would have beat y'all.
No, 8 champ. That means they would have won 8 in a row. I don't think that. Okay. Secondly, the reason I felt that we would have beat them, not because Michael wasn't the greatest player ever.
Olajuwon was no joke. He was something special.
But they were too small for us. Because remember, there was no Horace Grant. Remember, he was in Orlando. That was when all the contract stuff. Dennis Rodman wasn't there yet. He wasn't there.
Got you.
So who's going to guard Dream? No, that impossible. It would have been an impossible task for them to guard Dream, and because he was getting easy buckets. That's in the era when 3-point shooting was just starting to come around. No way, no how. We would have beaten the Michael Jordan Bulls because they were too little.
You had Olajuwon, you had Thorpe, you had yourself,
and think about
Ori.
They did. Michael was there one year. He was wearing number 45, and nobody was complaining when he had 55 at the Garden. The reason they lost to the Orlando Magic, who by the way, we swept.
Yes, you did.
We swept because they were too little. Mm-hmm. They were too little.
That's a good point. I will say this to you. When I think about Jordan, I think about the team he won the 3 titles with. Right. And then the 3 he won the second 3 titles with.
We might not have beaten those teams.
In fairness to you, That's the teams I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, oh, all right, Horace Grant is going, Robin's not there yet. Y'all are too small. I got you there. I understand
There
that.
you go.
I'm thinking about the three-peat, the first three-peat squad, and the second three-peat squad. I think both of those squads would have beat y'all.
Well, that would be debatable. And I would say my competitive spirit would say no. But my logical mind would be like, that makes sense. But them teams that was there and just Michael, we would have smacked them up. We'd have smacked them.
Before I let you get on out of here, man, talk to me about what the hell you're doing, because I see, you as a producer. I see you doing a little acting. Okay, you were in Hustle with Adam Sandler. I remember I was a part of the Showtime documentary series, Point Guards. Y'all did y'all thing with that. That was special to see. Talk to me about your thoughts about New York City guards, particularly in this day and age, what it meant to the game of basketball, and more importantly, what your aspirations were, because clearly you ain't just doing the Inside the NBA on TNT. You got a lot going on, as always.
Yeah, well, production company is in full effect. Actually, my son kind of signed me to Range Media to do that, and so it's been great. We did the Point Guards documentary. With Rich Kleiman and Kevin Durant.
Right.
I did another show called Pathways, which was #1 on TNT, another documentary. Then we did, I acted. So now I'm doing another project with Adam Sandler that will be coming out. It's a scripted series. So all putting I gotta get you in your acting bug. I might have to put you in the scripted series.
I'm getting ready to take acting lessons because I got a recurring role on a soap opera, General Hospital. I just decided they keep telling me I can act. I finally decided to listen to them and say, wait a minute, maybe I should take some acting lessons, because they say Stephen A, I'm gonna do it this summer.
We got you, brother. I got you. I got a great part for you too.
Oh Lord, knowing you, I'm scared to think about it. What's the name of your production company?
It's KSEG, Kenny Smith Entertainment Group.
All right. I hear you on that. And by the way, before I let you get on out of here, The Guards, History of New York City is you. My favorite of all time, Dwayne Pearl Washington on the collegiate level. I still say to this very day, he was the greatest show in the history of college basketball.
Without question.
The greatest show.
Yeah, he was probably he's the greatest show. He's the greatest show in college basketball.
Mark Jackson, Rod Strickland, Kenny Anderson, Stephon Marbury. Can't leave them out. New York City Guards. I got to give love where love is due. No question about it. How come in this day and age we don't see more guards from New York City excelling on the NBA level?
It's prep schools. A lot of those kids go to prep schools now. They don't stay in New York. They go outside. They go to Florida, IMG. They go upstate New York. Even a guy like Cole Anthony, people don't associate him with New York City, but he's a New York City kid because he went down to Oak Hill. Like the prep school and the overtime elites and all of these different mediums, you don't stay in New York when you're great anymore. At one time you had to stay in New York to be great. You don't have to do that anymore. And now with the NILs and everything, guys are going all over and going to schools all over. I know on multiple occasions, their guards in the high school division now thought of as great. I know they started in New York City.
Right. Last question. Are you a proponent of NIL? Do you approve of that? Do you like that?
100%. College basketball is the only place where the employee was not getting paid.
Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. My man, I love you. I'm proud of you. Latest big thing that you're doing, no doubt about it. Talk of Champions, Stories of the People Who Made Me, by the one and only Kenny Smith. Appreciate you, my man. Love you. Proud of you, my man. Keep doing your thing.
You're my man.
All right. And I'll see you soon. There's no I in team. Just ask those 2,000 Spurs we all know and love. But there is an I in Indeed, and that's the hiring platform you need to build your team. When you're hiring, you shouldn't be looking anywhere else. You shouldn't be wasting time on multiple sites. You shouldn't be guessing which candidates are the best for the role. You shouldn't be watching those 3 million other businesses use Indeed while you fall behind. Nope. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place with powerful tools to help you find top candidates. And my favorite part, they'll match you with quality candidates instantly. So start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/mercy. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/mercy. Indeed.com/mercy. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. With Vroom, you can shop thousands of cars right from your phone and have your next ride delivered straight to you. Be honest with yourself. Doesn't that sound easier than dealing with a limited selection once you drive somewhere to shop? Or would you rather not have all the information laid out right in front of you in the comfort of your own home? We're all busy people, you know, so I'll tell it to you straight. Vroom is the better way to buy your next ride. You never have to haggle or negotiate the price of a car. You'll have thousands of cars to look through. You'll have peace of mind through a 90-day warranty, 1 year of roadside assistance, and even time to drive the car you buy to make sure it's right for you. A full week or 250 miles, whichever comes first, of course. And it's not only buying cars. You can trade in your old car when you buy your new one. Or you can even just sell your car to Vroom, and they'll give you a price instantly. You can buy a car from Vroom entirely online. So next time you need to buy a car, just grab your phone, go to Vroom.com, and check out thousands of cars. Hey guys, Stephen A. here. I've autographed copies of my new book, Straight Shooter, exclusively for Premier Collectibles. And now for a limited time, you can use code SAS15 to save 15% at checkout. That's SAS15 for 15% off at checkout. Head over to StephenABook.com and get your signed copy today. As I told y'all before, you can catch him on Inside the NBA with Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Ernie Johnson, and the crew on TNT. Obviously, the man knows his basketball, and he knows a lot more about life based on the connections that he's had, the experiences that he's experienced, of course, the people that he's been close to, the mentors and advisors that he's learned from along the way. He's always providing teachable moments, and I appreciate it from my brother and my friend. One only Kenny Smith joining us here on No Mercy. Thanks so much. That's it for today, this episode and this edition of No Mercy. I got to get on out of here. I got some more playoff basketball to cover. Remember, as I always say, you don't have to know sports to know mercy, but it helps when you know a hell of a lot more than that. Stay tuned. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out.